Hello, my name's Mark Rowley and we are today going to be discussing pivot tables in Excel. First of all, what are they used for? Well, they're a great way of analysing data, summarising data and reporting data to management. These are very understated. They're actually a very powerful tool. A lot of businesses use these today, so I'm going to quickly first of all go through what we have on this spreadsheet. This is basically just raw data that we need to create a pivot from. Okay, so as you can see, this is basically the data of an English takeaway that is analysing their sales. Okay, and that is basically all it is. We've got columns A to R, and we're going to do a pivot from this table and analyse to give to management, and we might be able to build something like show which is our best product, which is our biggest selling product, and that's what we'll build a pivot from today. So if we go to I've built already renamed a tab called pivot. And before we get started, just a couple of golden rules with pivot tables. You can't have a blank column between your data. Anywhere along here, you can't have a blank column. It just will not work. You can have a blank row, that's fine. And also the second rule is you can't have a blank column name. So you must always have a title in the top of your pivot. Okay. So let's start to build. So if we click on, say, let's build it from B5. I like to leave a bit of a gap at the top so that if I put any filtering data in there, then that can sit up there. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If we click on Insert and Pivot Table, the first question is where is your data coming from? So we're going to click in that box and click on the Sales tab and click on column A and drag it all the way across to column R. The next question is where do you want us to build your pivot table? Well, you literally click on there, and as it knew I wanted to build it from there because that's where I clicked Insert Pivot Table. So that's fine, I'm happy with that. We then get the wizard up that can help us. So we're going to start off by saying let's take the description and put it into there, and as you can see, it's already started to build the pivot as I'm adding these fields in, and this is just drag and drop. It's a very simple process. So I'm now going to take the total sale cost, which is that one, sale price, and I'm going to put that into the values header. That's because all values go into there. And I'm going to click, and at the moment it's doing a count. We don't want it to do that, we want it to do a sum because these are values. So I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit by doing that. Click OK, click OK. So at the moment it said your total sales are 177.46. Let's just click on the sales tab and confirm that. So if we highlight the whole of column L, you can see at the very bottom there it says 177.46, so we know we've captured all of our data. Okay. One other thing is if we click on the Analyze tab at the top and change data source, if our data grows in terms of columns, we can change the data source. And we can say go to change the R there to STUVW and then just refresh the pivot, and that will then include further columns if you want to build your data later on. How do you refresh your pivot? Just right click over the top and hit refresh, or you can do it from the data tab at the top, refresh there. Okay, right, let's put this in a bit of order. So we can see which is our biggest selling product in terms of turnover. So I'm going to hit this drop down, more sort options. I want to hit the descending, and I don't want to do it on description, but the sum of sales price, click OK, and that's told me that chicken nuggets is the gives us as a company the highest turnover, and then not far behind it is the quarter pounder beef burger. Alright, so the next step really is to start adding a few more columns and starting building a bit of data. So I'm going to bring in the total material cost. I'm going to change that again to sum. Values normally it defaults to count, but normally we want to sum that, so click that as OK, and I'll bring in the total labour. So again, if we just click on value field settings, click sum, click on the number format just to tidy it up really, and that's fine, click OK, click OK. Now I might want to know what the total cost is to make this product, and to give us what is the total cost of sales if that's our sales for the nuggets. Now I can quite easily put a formula in there and say equals D6 plus E6 and then drag it down, but that's very manual, and if your data grows you'll be forever dragging your formula down. We don't necessarily want to do that. We'd like that formula to be part of our pivot. So this is how we insert a calculated field. And this is out of the two options, either a manual formula or bringing in a calculated field. Always choose the calculated field because it's just better practice. It takes away that manual dragging down. Okay, so if we left click on the pivot table and then click on analyze, and then we've got a fields, items and sets button. If we click on that and hit calculated field, now here it's saying give me a name for your calculated field. So I'm going to call this total STD. You cannot put spaces in this, otherwise it will not work. I'm going to then take this out and I'm going to add in my own formula. So I want the total material plus the total labour, and then click add and then click OK, and as you can see we've now added a calculated field, and then I think in this instance what we can also do is start looking at the filter option. Now I'm going to put in the date as in the year and also the period, and as I'm dragging these into there you can see that it's generated these two cells at the very top of the pivot. This is a good option because what we can now do is we might want to analyse our data by a specific period. So at the moment they're all looking at 2016. We don't have any transactions outside of 2016, that's fine. But we've got two periods that these transactions cover. So I might want to just look at period 2. So I'm going to take off period 1 and I'm going to take off blanks and I'm just going to click OK. And now you can see our turnover figure has changed to 84.89. Okay, it's still kept it in the same order that I've asked it to, because you can see the highest value is at the top, so that's fine. I just want to make sure though that I can trust that 84.89. So what I'm going to do is come back to our data, and as you can see here, this is period 1, period 2, so I'm just going to total this down, and if we look at the very bottom, 84.89 is our total standard. And I think really in terms of the only last thing to say really is how different versions of Excel might present this in a slightly different format. I know in 2007 version, when you click insert here to start your pivot table, you can also get the option of doing a pivot chart as well as a pivot table. If apart from that, it's sort of pretty much the same. They might just have changed it around a bit in the actual ribbon, but ultimately this is how you would then start analysing your data. Now this is just very simply what is the top product in terms of turnover, but we can then also, if we wanted, bring in any of these fields here to say, right, who's our biggest customer. So if I bring in name, if I can find name, where is name gone? Customer name, there it is. And I'm going to put that into there, and already you can see my data is changing. I can keep that in there if I want, but what I'm going to do is remove the description, keep the data, and then we'll resort the turnover column. So more sort options, descending, name, sum of sale price, click OK. So now we can see that in period just 2 alone, Diego Maradona is the reason he's given us the most of our turnover in period 2. Ian Rush is not far behind. Let's just have a look year to date. So that means bring in every single period. And just click OK. And we've got a clear winner there of Phil Mitchell. Okay. Alright, I think I've covered everything on pivot tables. Thank you for watching. And see you soon for the next video. Thanks. Bye.